Hi there, my name is Bernard and I would like to show you and help you today how you can file your own motion for changes in either way spousal support or like child support. My particular case, I got divorced like 5 years ago in Oregon, Washington. I think even if this is very specific, it's always very specific if it's a different state and a different county. But I think if you follow that guide, you get probably a very good understanding what you in general have to understand before you file and how to proceed with all the documents you need to provide in order that your motion is not going to be rejected. I would suggest you subscribe right now on my YouTube channel so that you can follow all the different videos, and if I'm going to release something in future that you get notified. The first thing I would like to show you is that on the original website courts.oregon.gov, in that specific case it's Washington, you find a modification motion form package, so to speak. And that basically gives you instructions. It tells you also what specific forms you need to file and you need to provide. And of course, the most important form is the so-called ex parte motion for order to show cause modification of judgment. So that is basically the one most important form at the very, very beginning. I also make sure that you can see this here. That's the actual motion, okay? Very, very important. Now, when you scroll through this, you see there is a lot of stuff going on. I provide also, of course, the download link, additional, or the link to the original website from the court, because they might change it over time. Okay, so I always recommend go to the original source and check those forms, because they will update it or are required to update it if there are any changes. But what I wanted to show you here at the very, very beginning, I guess this is very, very important. You see that there is a petitioner and there is a respondent. And for me, this was very, very irritating at the beginning, because when I got divorced, I had a case number, right? So I got divorced like 4 years ago. And for me, it was clear if I'm going to file a motion, this is what I thought, but my thought was wrong. I am saying, hey, I would like to change, in my particular case, the spousal or partner support, right? And so there is no question I'm the petitioner. I am the one who is filing it, and my ex-wife, she is the respondent. So this is what I thought. But that thought was not correct, because when you file a motion and there was an initial divorce case created, then you are going to file a motion to that pre-existing case. So that means whatever case number you have, this is here, this is what you're going to fill out, the existing case number, and then you need to file in the way how it initially was sent to the court. So in my particular case, okay, my ex-wife was actually filing for divorce. So that means she was the petitioner and I was the respondent. So in my particular case, it was, when you fill this out here, the county of Washington. Like I said, this might be in your case even a different state, because in my case it's Oregon and then the county of Washington. But the procedure, even if you have to download different forms, the procedure there is basically the same, right? But of course, every county and every state has different forms and also different rules. So I cannot speak for that, but it should give you a general understanding, and it's a guide like how it works specifically for the Oregon and state and the county of Washington. So here is your case number. Whatever your case number is, look it up. There are like letters and whatever numbers. And like I said before, this is now this irritating part. So if, for example, I got divorced like 4 years ago, now this is what you need to fill out. You need to fill out and look back in your old case number. Who was the petitioner, right? And that means, so you enter the name of the original petitioner here. That's very, very important. And the respondent is basically also the respondent who was it in the original case, okay? So right after we clarified who the petitioner is and who the respondent is, there was the next confusing part, and that drove me really literally nuts. And it's basically, when you read this sentence for the motion, it's very irritating because you are saying, hey, I am, in my particular case, the respondent. Keep in mind, you're the respondent because it depends on the original case, okay, not on this new one. And again, if you would create a new case, then it's different, right? But because you're filing a motion to modify an existing case, you need to fill this out as discussed before. But even so, if I am reading the sentence here, let's go through this. I am the respondent in this case. I ask the court to issue an order to show cause requiring the other party to appear and show cause why this court should not modify, or change the provisions of a prior judgment related to, and check all that applies. And for me, this was and still is very confusing because, in my opinion, how they phrased this sentence, it's an exclusion. That basically, I highlighted it. It would say, hey, I'm the respondent and I ask the court to issue an order to show cause, right, requiring the other party to appear and show cause why this court should not modify. And this is the irritating part, spousal or partner support. But heck, this is exactly what I would like to modify because that's the major part of my motion. That's the reason why I'm going to file the motion. I would like, to change and modify spousal or partner support. Now, after calling, of course, the clerks on court and, going through this process and clarifying, I was told that it is correct to check mark spousal and partner support if I am going to file a motion and I would like to make the changes in a spousal or partner support. So keep that in mind. That means if you would like to make changes also in the custody, in the parenting time, in the child support, or if you would like to change anything else other than that, you basically check it, all of that, whatever you would like to pick, and basically also put it in here, right? So very, very important that you do this right. It's really crazy at the beginning, the first few things we need to understand to file that motion, but you want to do this right. So if we move on with this document, underneath, it's basically about the court costs and fees, whether paid or deferred, related to this motion. In my particular case, I just checked each party should be responsible for paying his or her own costs and fees, and that's about it. I think that's very easy to understand. Whatever it was initially filed or you feel like this should be changed, this is what you would like to check, okay? One thing I wanted to mention for the future is that there is a way how you can waive or defer the costs and the fees, but I'm going to talk about this in another video. So we keep moving forward, and on the next page you can find a declaration that speaks for itself. The other party is not in an active military service or whatever, so just fill it out as you know of. And then spousal and partner support. This is the most important part that specifically spoke to me in my case because I wanted to change the spousal and partner support. And here you need to identify what you would like to do. Should it be completely terminated because there have been some substantial changes in circumstances, or you have been paying your ex-wife or ex-husband all the money already you needed to pay. And in my particular case, this was very clear. For me, it was like I wanted to terminate it because all my payments have been done and fulfilled. So I was checking, hey, first of all, if I do this with you live, I go to my checkers and say like, check, I would like to change and modify spousal and partner support, and it should be terminated. Okay. Now, what is very, very important, and this is the most important thing I would say in this document, is that you have to specifically describe the substantial changes in circumstances. So why? You need to have a proper reason why you are filing this motion and why you would like to either change the spousal or partner support, or you would like to terminate it. In my particular case, it was a very substantial change in circumstances. And number one was my ex-wife got remarried. I figured that out a year after. But she got remarried, and that is a substantial change in circumstances when it comes to spousal and partner support. Not necessarily for child support, but specifically for spousal and partner support, yes, that is a valid, legitimate reason. And another reason was for me also that I was unfortunately affected back then from the COVID-19 like virus, and our company, we had major layoffs. I was one of them as well, and I was unemployed. So that means I had really a substantial change in circumstances, and for me, I basically put those two reasons here into those two lines that I wanted to highlight. And I can't stress this enough. It's very important that you have legitimate reasons you are going to file that motion. If you just feel you don't want to pay anymore, or you just feel, oh, this changed and maybe it would change something, feelings in terms of rules, it's completely different. And I can guarantee you that that's what I would look up. You need to have substantial changes in circumstances before you even file and you go through this process. Effective date. The new support order should be effective as of the date this motion is served on the other party, right? Or other reasons. As soon as you have information received that there is a substantial change in circumstances and you're filing for a change, the effective date, I would say as soon as this is filed or the motion is served also to the other party, that would be the legitimate date. So the next part is about the children. In case if there is a no contact order that prohibits the respondent from exercising parenting time, please enter the case number, the county, and the state. In my case, there was nothing, so it's empty, and I keep it empty. And below you see the following children are affected by this request, so please enter the names and the ages of your children that are going to be affected by this request. Now, when we continue and we scroll down this document and we see now custody and parenting time, you see then all the other forms and the fields you have to fill out in this form. Then this is what I have to say. You have to go through each of those fields and fill it out like it is requested. If it's not going to affect anything of this, okay, so in my case, I was basically filing for spousal and partner support, and it has nothing and had nothing to do with my custody and parenting time. I didn't want to make any other changes here. What you can see, it didn't change anything here, right? It's all empty. So keep in mind, it's a form that is provided by the court. And yes, it prints out all those things, even if you don't want to make any changes, right? So, like I said, you need to basically go through all those points by yourself. If this is something you would like to change, then you need to fill it out and mark it and make those proper changes. Okay. At the very end of this document, you have to answer two kind of like questions or statements. It's the certificate of pending or existing child support proceedings, meaning if there is a pending child support proceeding, you need to check this. And if there is an existing child support order or judgment, you also have to check it. As you can see in my example, this was not the case because in our judgment and in our initial case, we basically had agreed that no party is paying anybody any child support. So as you can see, in my particular case, I had to check there is not a pending child support proceeding and there is not an existing child support order or judgment. But this might be different to your case, so you have to pick the right one. And then, of course, don't forget to put in the date, your signature, print the name, so type it in here, your contact address, the city, state, a zip code, and then the contact phone number. And then at the very end, you are done with this document. So I hope this was a little bit helpful for you, so you can see that going through this entire form might be challenging and you will have probably, most likely, additional questions to that. I totally do understand this. I was like in the same shoes, so to speak, going through this. Do it yourself. It's kind of like tough, especially if you try to do it the first time at all. But anyways, if I can only encourage you, if you have any other questions, and they will come up most likely, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. There is this bell underneath. You can post directly questions underneath of my video. You can reach out to me, of course. And like I said, I also have to say and make this disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer. I don't consult you in doing anything like this. I have to say clearly, look, this is your particular case. You have to know what you are going to do. And if you don't and you feel like this is too much for you, you need to contact a lawyer and ask him for the legal steps or like whatever you need to do in order to fill this out. What's also very important is please keep that in mind. If you are going to file the motion to make any changes on your spousal support or child support or whatever you would like to change, you have to add a few more additional forms. Otherwise, the motion will be rejected because it's incomplete. And 3 of those forms I can tell you up front immediately. Number 1 is the so-called Uniform Support Declaration. I'm going through this form in my next video. That's why I'm recommending you subscribe to my YouTube channel, click the bell button underneath so you can actually follow that procedure and don't forget any of those documents. It's very, very important. Otherwise, your motion will be rejected because it's incomplete. I can't stress this enough, right? So, Uniform Support Declaration is an additional document you need. But that's not all. There is also the so-called Order to Show Cause. That's a simple form that can be done very fast and very quickly. And I also go through this proper process. And last but not least, if in case you moved or the address changed, you also need to provide a change of address form. Also very, very important. So as you can see, there is a lot to consider, and especially for the Uniform Support Declaration form, you have to provide a lot of additional documents. I'm going through all those steps, like I said before, step by step, in order to guide you and to make you aware of what do you need to do and what specific forms do you have to provide in order to be not rejected when you file your motion. So I hope that was helpful, and I hope to see you in my next video. And please, again, don't forget to subscribe and let me know all the questions you have. Thanks for watching and see you in my next video. Take care. Bye-bye.